police department flying can report the shop.
Hey, we've had some break-ins in my neighborhood, and there's a real suspicious guy. It's Retrieving Circle. The best address I can give you is 111 Retrieving Circle. This guy looks like he's up to no good, or he's on drugs or something. It's raining, and he's just walking around looking about.
Okay, this guy, is he like on first minute?
He looks black.
Did you see what he was wearing?
Yeah, a dark hoodie, like a gray hoodie, and either jeans or sweatpants and white tennis shoes. He's seeing me, he was just staring.
He's just walking around the area.
At all the houses.
Okay.
And now he's just staring at me. These assholes, they always get away.
Are you following them?
Yeah.
Okay, we don't need to do that.
Damela, peh-LO-tah. Damela, peh-LO-tah. Damela, peh-LO-tah. Damela, peh-LO-tah. Damela, peh-LO-tah. Damela, peh-LO-tah. Damela. Damela, peh-LO-tah, Damela, peh-LO-tah. Double down on dark skin, bleach skin, social, holster, holding up the weapon of destruction, structured in the shape of black boy, genius, black girl, run world, Venus, Felix, Damela, peh-LO-tah. Turn and look like touch the rock, knock inside of the foot, black gold of the sun, to victory is one son, football always in the pocket, passing, pressing, pessimism, kids are missing, that's an action active, actors in their own life, fraction, habits, almost game time. Game time. My time is covered in sweat, wet, like running through the rain, dodging drops, tearing through the sky like a post-hurricane rooftop, lying on the earth, crying out in pain. Only seconds remain before this life raft collapses, conflated, like Republican syntax in a Democrat synapsis. It's a minute thing on God's watch, but I can't bear the brunt. Cross latitude, my attitude is axis. I'm only human. I can't shrug it off or thug it out. Homeless in a hopeless winter laying on a cold and lonely mattress. Damela, peh-LO-tah. Damela, peh-LO-tah. Damela. Damela, peh-LO-tah, Damela, peh-LO-tah. Double down on dark skin, bleach skin, social, holster, holding up the weapon of destruction, structured in the shape of black boy, genius, black girl, run world, Venus, Felix, Damela, peh-LO-tah. Turn and look like touch the rock, knock inside of the foot, black gold of the sun, to victory is one son, football always in the pocket, passing, pressing, pessimism, kids are missing, that's an action active, actors in their whole lives, fraction, habits, almost game time. Game time. Praying that my DNA is configured for this fifth act, coded with emboldened tactics in the face of humid facts, but the pressure is radioactive. Feels like the code is getting cracked and my skin is crawling back to beg this no rehearsal life for a chance at no consequences in practice. I'm a grown man. All this kid shit bitching is pointless and backwards. I'm just a lone man on a wide field, playing the world's game. The globe has got goals for me. I wish I could give you this feeling. I can't take it no more. You can have it.
Look at the story all in the plain. Well, look at the history, look at the scene. There won't be looking, no need for looking. No, 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 the story, no need for looking.
At 40, what is more clear is the faint signal being transmitted directly to your ear from the end of your days. I have gray in my beard. It tells the truth. My son is just about the age to start playing the game of slow stroll, controlled and hunted. He's 15, there is no beard. There is no man gait. There's a new shade of skin, colored dark like reasonable doubt. This is bugged out tipping point. For the first time in my black-bodied existence, I'm less likely to get got by the police than by life. Blood, bumps, prostates, polyps, interrupted sleep. Kobe Bryant is old as fuck and retired, and he's 3 years younger than me. The end isn't near, but I can feel the chill turn of evening light. So after another black boy death, it's time for the talk, his rites of passage. And I have to ask myself, like, what keeps me alive?
At 7 or 8, there is church in a language that I don't speak. Trying to wake myself up early in time to not go to Mass at 10:30. Sacred Heart Church in Queens Village, where my parents were married and I was baptized. The old women sing the Our Father as a Creole hymn. In my memory, church is all Haitian grandmothers and small American-born children. After church, soccer fields. Beer, laughter, men like my father. Order in the new world. Ties on Monday or gloves on Monday. Kitchen, construction, factory. Accents on Monday. On Sunday, the West Indians play. Native tongue is center among the foreign-born. Immigrant labor built this country, and the itinerant, imminent ignorance towards immigrants as economic engine is evidence of American pathology. Everything that I learned about navigating America, I picked up by playing this game. Never stop running. Win by passing. The ball is aloft, like the voices in my grandmother's church. I watched my father bring it down with a touch as delicate as the wind off a moving dragonfly's wing. A touch soft, like the surrender in the song of hummingbird sin.
What's up?
All right.
All right. Mic check, mic check. Hello, hello.
So we should, I guess, any story, any dance, any game begins at the beginning.
Yes.
So first minute, let's talk a little bit about the process of peh-LO-tah and what came into what we now see.
Yeah. Well, first of all, hi. Everybody all right? Y'all good? In the beginning, there is energetic reciprocity. What I mean by that is there is a tradition that some people refer to as call and response. Some people activate through drum. For me, there's an energy that lives in the body where art does not exist in a vacuum. So I asked you guys how you doing, and I'm really glad that most of y'all responded because I'm a real life human being out here. I got a fantasy football team that's getting smacked around today. You know, the person that I'm playing today has Ezekiel Elliott and Le'Veon Bell on his squad, so I'm just getting mopped up. I have real feelings, and I know you have real feelings. Some of y'all, you know, file your taxes late, and you're thinking about your, right? Like, we all bring the wealth and breadth of our experiences to performance space, or just everywhere we go. We never lose consciousness. And when we do, I wonder what jumps in to take its place. But the beginning is knowing that I'm not making a work to exist in a sensory deprivation tank, that I'm making a work that reaches out, and hopefully folks are aware of their permission to reach back. Outside of the energetic beginning or the energetic premise, there's a love and passion for this particular game. And as you'll hear about later, there's an acute desire to locate over and over again where freedom and joy live in my body. And when I think about the times and places where I felt kind of outside of my body, when I used my body in order to leave it, many of those memories track back to this game. So, yeah.
Cool. That's a good place to start.
Yeah.
Well, there's a physicality to your art.
Yeah.
You know, when you speak, I not only hear your words, I see them.
Yeah.
Where do you draw upon that, and how do you feel the physical part and the artistic part meet? Besides through you, of course.
Really beautiful question. I write poems for the body. I'm a first-generation American. I'm deeply aware of the labor of my ancestors and my elders. I believe that sweat is equity, and I believe in living word, which means that the language that I craft doesn't actually live until there is toil, until there is the assumption of and the breaking through of a threshold, a very often stubborn threshold of limits. So I like to think that part of what my poems are striving to do is to break me. And it's a little masochistic, but I enjoy the process. Maybe because I grew up both a dancer and an athlete, but also because I'm connected to hip hop culture, and there's something about the break where possibility is limitless. And I think just in storytelling, there's a way that being able to access somebody else's labor implicates us all. Like, I hope that when we see people struggling in a room, we don't just be like, oh yeah, that person is struggling and I'm gonna be over here. You know, there's how we generate empathy and how we construct implication, in my mind, has a lot to do with how hard the poems are working and how those poems work the body. And then maybe the last thing that I'll say is, you know, I come from a people who every now and then get taken over by spirit. And in Haitian cosmology, the metaphor that's used is that the spirit rides the body, that you get mounted. And being from a ceremonial people, how do I activate the possibility that a spirit might take over? That's challenging, but it also, I think, gives both the spoken language and the body language a kind of gravity and intention that hopefully breaks us all open.
And I know you as a teacher and soccer player, for me personally, but when I watch soccer, when I see Neymar, I see him dribbling through people, breaking their ankles. Messi looks like he's moving at a different pace than any defender on the field. Cristiano Ronaldo, precision, power.
Yes.
You see dance.
Yes, I do. First of all, I'm mad at Neymar. Yeah, some people, some Barca folk, you know what I mean? Y'all know exactly what's going on. So, you invoked his name. You invoked two kind of Voldemort names just off the top. Too soon.
We had just gotten past your fantasy team, too.
Yeah, golly. It's just all bad. So, yes, so I started playing this sport when I was 5. I started dancing when I was 10. And I grew up in this city, and I think all the ways that I think about navigating through people have a lot to do with the geometry and internalization of spatial relationships that come from being on a dance floor with other moving bodies. I learned how to hold a woman in ballet class. I learned how to move through tight spaces on the soccer field. Again, all these experiences they make up just who I am. And so it's hard for me not to view the world through the lens of these things that were seminal phenomena in my life. And, soccer in particular feels like a dance to me. I think I described it as bird migration. Like when I see 22 players on the field, they look like an organism to me. They look like, there's an elegance and there's a grace, there's a chase and an intensity, there's a rigor that all looks like choreography. And one of the questions that I ask myself all the time is about how we choreograph social justice. Like, is it possible to think about the world that we want to see as a design, as part of kind of a choreographed set of entities and occasions and incidents and speeches? And so I not only think of soccer like a dance, I think of justice as the product of a creative process.
You describe our sport in a way that I have never heard before. It's, I would say, through your words, your movement, and the way you manifest it, that's how I feel.
Word.
But I may not have had the ways of sharing that. There's a piece of this in peh-LO-tah that is about joy, and particularly Black joy, and in the context of Black life.
Yes.
How does that come through? Obviously, we saw from the beginning of the piece.
Yeah. We've talked a lot, definitely in the last 4 or 5 years, about the matter of Black life and the energy behind a movement for Black lives. And unfortunately, the movement has really taken root because there's a tragic and consistent flow of extrajudicial murder of Black people without any implication or indictment. And so the result is that we talk about Black life within the context of grief or loss. And so many of us, I think, reference the matter of Black life as also being animated by joy. So you don't just have to think of Trayvon Martin after he's gone. You can remember the 15-year-old boy and what it's like to be both tortured and also like swagged the hell out as a 14-year-old, as a 15-year-old. So integrating this notion of joy and recognizing the tension between the joy and pain and struggle. I think it's what makes art great. It's what makes life interesting, and it's certainly what makes this particular life that we're living pretty tenuous. So it kind of tracks back to the origins of this piece, as my own son, as you guys heard, is now moving from a place where he's just like hella cute to a place where he's perceived as a threat. Like, where are the places of his joy? And how do I remember my own? And how do I make that alive, both in the household and also for audiences and communities and perfect strangers? And I think one of those ways is to just voice that phrase, to remind us all that the invocation of joy actually should be synonymous with the matter of Black life. Black love matters.
What is the experience like seeing Makai now coming into his own, and also, as you described, kind of entering into that danger, but then also experiencing joy on his soccer team?
Yeah, Makai. So I have a 15-year-old boy, I have a 12-year-old girl. Makai is my son, Nanea is my daughter. They both are really creative souls. Nanea is particularly intuitive and like she's a boss. She's dope. Makai is spectacularly aloof, like a 10th grade boy, like a 10th grader should be. He's just like, you know, the other day we were having this conversation about visionaries, and he said, I think I might be a visionary.
Yes, yes.
And I said, word? You know? And he was like, yeah, man, the music that I hear in my head, the music, I just don't, nobody else's. And it's like, yeah, man, have that feeling. Have that feeling. You know, don't be an asshole about it, but have the feeling of, yeah, this music in my head, what it does to me, how it lifts me up. Hold on to that. God willing, we all have that thing, you know. For so many of us, you know, we were talking about this a little bit earlier. For so many of us, the idea of being an artist or the idea even of being an educator is something that you fall back on. Education, by the way, I believe is an art form. My wife is a first grade teacher. My graduate work is in education, and I believe deeply in the power and necessity of our educators. Remember I told you about energetic reciprocity and like, okay, cool. So, respect. So, yeah, there's this thing where that joy that I just described, like for many artists, we're actually going with that. And for many of us, I think that the thing that we fall back on is the thing that we're not really that into. And so I want to encourage and invoke and remind my boy of that thing, that the thing that you fall forward into is the place of your passion.
Well, you do that, I'm sure, just by being you, as you do inspire everyone else.
Thanks, man.
You open the piece with a call and response, dame la pelota.
Yeah.
I would assume everybody here knows what that means, right? Okay, so dame la pelota is give me the ball. So if you're on a field, that's a perfect example of the power of soccer. If you're on the field, it would make sense to you, because if you have the ball and I'm yelling dame la pelota, that means give me the ball now.
Ahorita.
Yeah, and a theme of well, a theme of the show is possession.
Yeah.
And possession in soccer is a measurable statistic of how much one team has the ball in comparison to the other. So if you're a team like Bamuthi's beloved Barcelona, you may have 75, 80% of the ball. If you are on Bamuthi's fantasy team, maybe not so much. But there is that is a quantifiable, measurable statistic. In a 90-minute game, though, each individual player spends less than 90 seconds with the ball, actually in possession.
Yeah.
And in the scope of peh-LO-tah, possession takes on another meaning, especially a political one around immigrant and refugee populations.
Yeah, yeah. Citizenship is an interesting thing because generally citizenship is marked actually by a policy of exclusion. We are more conscious, I think, of who is not a citizen than who is. Citizenship is also generally marked by documentation and your place of birth, as opposed to participation and connection to and accountability within your community. And so, like, how you're a citizen on the field is you actually don't hold on to the ball a whole lot. You're actually not in possession of the material currency. The way that you're a citizen on the field is you're in possession of space, and you do your very best to provide space for others. Even when you're saying, give me the ball, you're actually not saying, give it to me right here where I am. You're saying, give me the ball where I need to be, or where the team needs me to be. And that's a different relationship to ownership or to possession. It's a call actually for all of us to advance forward, which is a theme that we'll touch on in just a second.
Cool. Well, I think we are ready for that.
Sweet.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, sweet. You guys still here? Yes? Remember the reciprocity part? Great, great. So this next section that we're going to see includes a little bit of travel to South Africa and features two examples of a trope that occur throughout peh-LO-tah, which is this idea of a performed essay where we use one player on the field to describe a macro topic in our collective lives. You'll see right away what I mean by that. Yeah?
Great.
All right, cool.
All right.
See y'all in a bit.
Let's do it.
Cristiano Ronaldo is definitely the type to fuck your girl and pat you on your head on his way out your house. He's beautiful and he's better than you. Disrespectfully excellent at what he does. No, I'm not fooled by the three-dimensional tattoos he's got covering his gut, because I know humans don't have that many abdominal muscles. Pretty alien. King Cristiano makes you think his game is bloodless revolution. Somehow his greatness is your joy. Smirk, say he entitled to this. Wallet say highest paid athlete on Forbes' richest motherfucker list. Own you. Fleet and precise, keep you off balance, skeptically dark undertones, hangs out in his Speedos. Nothing to hide. You can't trust a guy with nothing to hide. With a smile that wide, that white. An unmatched concentration of wealth, beauty, and power. Ronaldo launching rockets. Cristiano game so lit, he make the whole world blind. Goal number 2. Remember Who runs this?
Whose world is this? The world is yours. No, it's mine. It's mine. It's mine.
This world belongs to the wretched of the earth. The 6 billion of us without.
The world is yours. The world is mine. The world is everyone's. It belongs to everyone.
We've wreaked so much havoc and destruction on it. So we are temporary residents in this world. It is not ours.
The world is yours. The world is mine. The world is ours.
In the grand span of time, ownership is bullshit. So I challenge the premise of the question.
A sick hatred, your history.
Your smile is a
Your
swirl.
past is cast as misery.
Your skin is a rainbow.
You can't say this without the sadist laughing.
Sadists have a self.
Can't say this without the sadist laughing.
Have you?
A sick hatred, your history.
A sick hatred is your
past is cast as misery.
Your past is cast as misery.
Can't say this without the sadist
cannot
laughing.
say this without
Can't say this without the sadist laughing.
When your smile is a
A
scroll,
sick hatred, your history.
your skin is a rainbow.
past is
And
cast as
sadists
misery.
have a self-confidence.
Can't say this without the sadist laughing.
A sick
Can't say
hatred.
this without the sadist
Your
laughing.
history, your past is cast as misery, but you can't say this without the sadists laughing at you. When I was 13, hip-hop was boycotting anything that had anything to do with South Africa. Real life kids at Cal, Larry Fishburne, in school days, all using the word divestment. A connection between the music that I loved and my budding role as a consumer and a freedom struggle that I could watch in living color and not just historically colored black and white. Back then, I was scared to ever go to South Africa because I am dark. And on TV, South Africa, mine was a bottom of the well face, a wrong end of the bell curve place. As if there exists anywhere in the world where the darker you are, the more beautifully you're seen. I want the boy to know resilience. I spend a summer in Johannesburg and Cape Town in the waning years of Mandela. The first World Cup on African soil approaches like a road being built through the center of a community. Here comes progress. As part of my gig here, I spend an afternoon with some women imprisoned in Sun City. I meet an 80-year-old man still carrying his passbook. I pass through a township that the government has gifted with antiseptic pink walls and indifferent electricity. I'm an American in South Africa on the eve of the World Cup, and I'm not as dark as I used to be.
I meet a man who shows me his passbook. Think slave papers. A kind of ID and license to walk. Into his middle age, if he leaves it at home, he could get beat, jailed, or killed. At 80, he casually pulls it out of his pocket. It's a part of me, he says. Makes me wonder, What do we pass down in this lifetime? How many of us passing now? How much of a pass do I get? Born black in this impossible blue. Makes me think how the future gets passed from the past. Ha!
My township stroll is a barely held hand of a barely held love. Pickup played near a burning tire where the game is physical and I am old. The young people play this game with these crazy rhythms thrown off like a teenager's shrub. They pass, cut, pass, cut, pass, cut, pass, then hold on to the rock, fixed like a grandmother's conviction. Outside the game, people casually stop to watch. A man with a jail door wide forehead. A woman with lips shaped like bullets. A little girl with her face twisted like a back porch conversation. I never really catch up to the speed of the game. Foreign in my skin, but the young people allow me to pass through freely.
Soccer is a weak link game. Rarely does somebody go the length of the field by themselves. You try that LeBron James shit on grass, and I will slide tackle your ass like I was a football player. This is football, player. You gotta pass and run to advance. You wanna win? You gotta pass. So, if you're a coach, you don't just invest in the elite or the best scorers. You invest in the tiers below and the bench and your defense. Badasses that break glory like Puyol and Cannavaro and company. Your team is only as strong as its strength across a wide breadth. As strong as its weakest link. Americans, you could picture the end of the world before the end of capitalism. You lack the intuition to aim for egalitarianism on that cowboy, global, military, ready to attack shit. Meanwhile, the people who are supposed to keep you safe at home, quick to abandon protection in favor of the preemptive strike. Therefore, it makes cultural sense that you're awesome at basketball where the best player generally dominates and wins, but y'all suck at soccer, where everybody shares or we all lose.
Hello.
What's up?
Hey.
Let's get another round of applause for them. All right, so we have Yao, Tracy, and Tommy. You guys form a team, right? This is a good place to start. This is your field for today. And talking about passing amongst each other. What has the process been like you guys working together as a team from the beginning to where you are now?
Ooh.
Well,
it's a long story.
Yeah. This is together, this is our second show. So we started together on Red, Black, and Green of Blues and toured that for about 3.5 years, and then now we're in peh-LO-tah. And I just, part of it, Bamuthi has this excellent way of just bringing energies together that work, I guess, and spending time with each other. The more that we do the show, the more that we're in practice with one another. The pieces are very collaborative, and we play, as you saw earlier. We pretend argue, sometimes for real argue. We throw out ideas, some of which work and some need reboots. And I think we just respect and honor what everybody has to bring to the table, and respect and honor what we are trying to convey, or the story that we want to tell, the people who we're telling. Like with the Red, Black, and Green, I was actually doing monologues of real people taking their words, and so it was really important. Some of whom came to the show. So, it was important to just be honest. Yeah. And we're honest. Yeah, I would say honesty.
Yeah, I think also we have, there's a humility about us. I think when any team forms, we think about Miami, the Big Three. They had to gel, because some people you have to figure out where you are in the the dynamic, and we're all, I think, very cognizant of each other's powers, gracious with ours, generous with ours, but at the same time able to recess. Maybe that's not the word, but we're able to make room for the other powers, should they need to be at the front in any particular time.
I was going to say that, like, having that knowledge and that type of relationship, and frankly, professionalism with each other, it allows us to blur all the lines. So we know who is in charge of their department, but we all get a say, and we don't have to take a vote on if we all get a say or not. We just do.
That's great. Yeah, that's the best teams come from that. With your relationship beyond each other with the sport, with the game, did you have much experience with soccer before this? And what's it been like, sort of diving into that world?
So for me, I'm first generation Ghanaian American. My parents came here. My dad and mom came here respectively in 1973 and 1973 and 1976 to Chicago. I think what happened is they brought soccer with them in their bodies, but I didn't play soccer. I grew up playing basketball and American football. And, so even though that wasn't my particular practice, I remember maybe I was 10 years old and soccer was the game that we were doing in gym. And I was really good. But, like, surprisingly.
Like Cristiano good?
Well, at 10 years old, yeah.
No,
no, I wasn't. Okay, all right, fine. He's better than us. But I also realized that this wasn't my sport. Do you know what I mean? Because I hadn't done the work. It was just, so actually having an opportunity to think about soccer and to really have it in my body performatively is a really beautiful circle, because I feel like, even though at one point I felt like it wasn't my game, I realized, yes, it is. It's the game. It's our game.
It's in you too. Tommy, with you guys use soccer as a lens to talk about a lot of different issues. What's one of them that whether it's citizenship, democracy, crossing borders. How does soccer present an opportunity to talk about those things?
Well, just the whole metaphor of the team and everybody playing their part felt to me like really community-based. Once I started getting into soccer and seeing how the triangulated passes worked and everything, I started to see how it connected to our own lives. And living inside of some of the players that we have done, like the goalie who gets paid to stop bullets. He gets paid to stop them. He is stepping on the other side of the firing squad. And how many people get to be there and live to tell about it. It's very, I can see the connections the more and more we do this. This play is relatively new for us too. So there's so many more discoveries that we get to make, so many more parallels that we get to make to our life. But there's so much already.
Tracy, I spend most of my days imagining a world where the U.S. could win the World Cup. I'm feeling less hopeful now. But I found it really fascinating, this idea of this communal sport, why we struggle to work together, and using maybe basketball or other sports that are more individual-based, one-on-one kind of, in that mold. How did that parallel come about, or how does it show for you?
I probably knew the least about soccer. I laugh while y'all was talking because we're both from Chicago, and I was gonna say almost the exact same thing. I remember being 10 and soccer was the sport in gym, and it was like, you're gonna play soccer today, and everyone was like, soccer, and I thought I was good at the time too, but it wasn't.
I was good.
Oh.
Don't touch me.
Well, anywho, it wasn't. I was never on a sports team. I danced. I was on a dance team, I guess, if you will. So, doing this last monologue that I just performed, it was very eye-opening because I do think about how in America, in particular, I mean, this is, my home, we value stars. And especially if you're pursuing an art or entertainment, it's either you're the best or sorry you didn't make it. I mean, the times I go home and everyone's like, I just hope you can make it. And it's like, okay, make it where, or what exactly are you saying? And it's just a consciousness that we have. And when I started to look at more soccer games and talk to people about soccer, it is truly a team sport. And it's not to negate the quote-unquote non-star players in basketball or football, but that's where they're the ones who get the endorsements and the money and the notoriety. But you can't go out there by yourself and play the whole football game. I mean, maybe Michael Jordan could have played the whole basketball game by himself, but that wouldn't be interesting and it wouldn't serve him. And so I wish that we could become more inclusive and communal in our thinking, but it just also shows how it permeates all areas. Even sports, where you are, the nature of being a part of sports is generally to be a part of a team. Even if you're a golf player, you have a team, or a tennis player, you have a team of people.
You got me thinking now, because I'm like, why do Americans suck at soccer? And I'm like, well, the women's team's not bad. They're good. And maybe there's something there that we shouldn't be surprised about as far as culturally.
Women are fantastic.
Don't need to tell you.
I'm the glue of this group.
Yes.
I can tell. All right. Well, I think we still have more ahead of us, so I'm excited to see more, as I'm sure everyone else is.
Yes. Thank you.
as part of the social practice initiative at the Guggenheim Museum. Over the course of a day in the South Bronx, we were able to bring together a celebration for first-generation Americans and young immigrants who love and play the sport of soccer. Moving and Passing was art making, soccer playing, art producing, and cultural and political exploration. I wrote a curriculum called Impact to extend the relationship beyond the one-day festival and also have a literal impact in the communities that we seek to reach. South Bronx United has a summer learning academy, so it provides the perfect environment to bridge soccer skills, which the young people focus on in the afternoon, with academic skills. Impact allows them to have a kind of like political science and poetry discussion within the context of soccer over the course of a 5-week intensive period.
You're going to talk about the different roles in soccer. So I'm interested in what soccer means to gentrification, immigration. So think of those things when you think of soccer as well. All of the positions that are on that soccer field represent positions in life, represent positions of power and oppression, represent positions of rebellion and revolution, and I think it's quite poetic.
The structure of Impact was to take a focus on a defender to talk about Black Lives Matter.
I related that to like waiting for justice, or like Emmett Till's death, or Eric Garner's death.
To use a focus on the goalkeeper to talk about gun control.
It was like the same as police brutality, you know, hands up. And it's like the same position the goalie does when he's trying to save a goal. So I found that interesting.
The focus of the center forward to talk about income inequality and gender inequality.
People think of Latina women as being fierce, which is usually true, but I think that quality that so many Latinas possess is strength. I'm very proud to have Latina blood.
And to use the focus on a midfielder to describe and frame a conversation for inspiration and dreaming.
I come from a place where my people are on a rope. It's the same place my people do not lose hope. All the Bronx needs is support of the people, and I swear it'll stop it from becoming feeble.
They're already passionate about the game, but can that same passion be transposed to their political understanding of themselves? The same joy and passion that they bring to the game to the matter of Black life? These are things that I'm hoping that the Impact curriculum can forge. For me, soccer is personal. I've been playing the sport since I was 5, and as a choreographer, I see dance in the game. Peh-LO-tah is a dance theater work that I wrote that uses soccer as a frame to talk about immigration, global economy, and the politics of joy in the Black body. Moving without the ball, that's the immigrant story. Never stop running. Win by passing.
My favorite line was the one that has win by passing. Like you need help to actually get through things.
What is the ball, right?
Like MLK, Nelson Mandela.
Well, how were they moving without the ball?
They were moving without power or freedom.
When they moved from Ecuador, it was the same thing because like I felt lost. Like the same thing when you're not with the ball, you feel lost, like you don't have a purpose.
So we're in a specific space where these kids are coming from immigrant families, so they feel silenced, like they shouldn't speak about it, they shouldn't speak up. And now they're not only given permission, but celebrated for doing so.
Inspiring young girls to achieve their dreams, believing you can succeed throughout. Working hard, you'll be there without a doubt.
Born in the Bronx, growing up was hard for me.
Being in the streets, mom don't care what time I come home.
Marc inspired me a lot. Like, it was really exciting. Like, he put it into a form of acting. I want to be an actor too. It was like a perfect thing for me. We're doing a poetry lesson about things that are important to us and like how it relates to soccer. So I'd like to welcome to the stage Mohamed Konate's group.
Center back. Your purpose is to protect the goal, like a police officer protecting the community.
The landlords get all the money from scoring the goals on the goalies, who attempt to protect their homes. Once that goal is scored, they lose their home. I really never thought of actually writing poems. I like to express my opinion, but then I feel like I could get it across more if I write about it sometimes.
Left forward. The one who runs when long passes are given, and the one who follows all the shots, the one who tries to score when they can and put the ball in back of the net, the hard worker like a single mother.
You know, I was raised by a single mother. Like with mass incarceration, you're taking away a father figure or a mother figure. It's such a big, hard topic to, process. Like with soccer, it really helped me understand it a little bit more.
The goalie. Protect the goal even when time is 89. I'm the last man of the defensive line. All the balls sent over are mine. We're like a father and his son, him and I. Scoring goals is really amazing. That's it, that's the goal. That's the dream I'm chasing.
Give it up for all the poets. The challenge of this type of experience is assuming that there will be a project as a result, rather than celebrating the journey. If all we do is allow them the experience to find that their voice is valid, to find that speaking up counts, they get to walk away with life experience. They get to walk away with things that will carry them on.
The goal of Impact is to provide a foundation for educators to reach young people, to further their journey. Ideally, this happens through art making, but we won't really know what the end is until well past this 5-week period. But I wouldn't be surprised if local and global leaders emerge out of this program. The personalities are certainly there, but you have to plant the seeds.
We are definitely bending some works and process rules in terms of form and structure, but I don't think that we could have made it to this stage without first developing a deep relationship with the curatorial staff and the education staff of the Guggenheim Museum, who are beginning to understand and generate and cultivate relationships between art objects, both performative objects and also material objects, and community. And so I wanted to show that, one, because it's friggin' dope. Thank you. But also because for me, the two places on earth where I feel most free aren't actually places, they're moments. The first is inside of dance, when I feel like There's a sensation that the air beneath my body is falling in love with its weight. I'm dancing and the air is carrying me. You know, like I might never come down. And the second place where I feel free is after I score a goal on the soccer pitch. My body floods with the chemical that they put in EpiPens to revive the dead. And I feel weightless. I feel raceless. My story is this. I'm a curator at a contemporary art center in San Francisco. I don't really believe in art that doesn't bleed or sweat or cry. My kids are probably going to live in a time when the most valuable commodities are fresh water and empathy. I love pretty dances and majestic sculpture as much as the next guy, but I need something else to go with it. Lift me up with the aesthetic sublime and give me a practice or some tools to turn that inspiration into action or understanding. So, I'm a theater maker who loves sports. And when I was making this piece, I thought a lot about how this was a means for my own immigrant family to foster a sense of continuity and normality in the new context of the United States. But in this heightened moment of xenophobia and assault on immigrant identity, I also wanted to think about how it could serve as an affirmational tool. For me, freedom exists in the body. We talk about it abstractly and sometimes divisively, like protect our freedom or build this wall, they hate us because of our freedom. We have all these systems that are really beautifully designed to incarcerate us or really beautifully designed to deport us, but can we design freedom? So for these kids, I wanted to track the idea back to something that exists inside that no one can take away, and hence moving and passing. You know, imagine that you're a 15-year-old kid from Honduras and now you live in Harlem. Or you're a 12-year-old girl, you were born in DC, both your parents were born in Nigeria, and you're playing on the field with your folks, and then all of a sudden a marching band comes down the field. So I want to locate this joy in the game at the same place as the exuberance of culture, so that you can locate being free in the body at the same coordinate of being politically informed by art. Soccer is like the one thing on earth that we can all do together. It's the official sport of this spinning ball. I want to track the ever-moving footballer to immigrant histories, and for these kids to track a sense of their own family's migration and associate it with the bliss of a goal scorer's run. Family like that feeling after the ball beats the goalie, the closest thing going to freedom.
All right, we got the whole crew up here now. So peh-LO-tah exists beyond performance. It is also pedagogy. Yes. How have you seen it impact the community, particularly here in New York City so far?
Again, shout out to Guggenheim, to FC Harlem, to South Bronx United, to Jive Poetic and Mahogany Brown, and to all the folks that took care of this project and sought to locate these performances. You know, we had the great pleasure of premiering this work at Yerba Buena Center for the Arts in San Francisco. We've been to the Kennedy Center. In a couple of weeks, we'll be at BAM. And it's great to locate this work on the stage in these extremely prestigious places. But what we talked about earlier in terms of accountability, and what we talked about in terms of energetic reciprocity, the art piece is made for the stage. The work is made for the world. And we don't necessarily differentiate or distinguish that. We understand that the broader goal of the work that we do, and one of our collaborators on stage isn't with us, Amara Tabor-Smith, but what the five of us do certainly is about a certain kind of energy and certain kind of platform on stage, but all of us are involved in the lives of young people or our communities, because the work has less value unless it is connected to the community and the context that we live. These are urgent times, and we seek to make things, we seek to make beautiful art, but that art also has to reach beyond the lip of the stage. Otherwise, we're not fully doing the work.
Yeah, I mean, you're doing art in a most literal sense with creating pieces of art with the kids, but you're doing art, as you mentioned, through education, art through soccer, for the group. Can you talk a little bit about the need for art in public spaces?
Sure. It's essential to put art in a public place, I feel, because most people aren't performers, but you put them in a public space, in a comfortable space, and you create art together. It's really like where it happens in that marketplace. You know, for me, I work a lot with young kids, like from like 2 to 9 mostly, and in the classroom is kind of the best place. Going to their home is the best place to go because it evens out the playing field. And it also helps them to understand that it doesn't take all of this to make statements, to interrupt anything, you know. And so that's what we work on with them is you know, working on just straight, how do you interrupt bias? Who and how do you stand up for someone? Their you know, ideas of it are a little not as strong as our adult lives, but it also is not that weak either. They actually are not glass, and they also are listening to what we are saying. And so they have opinions about all of this stuff. And so putting them in that position is essential. It drops guards, you know. It just makes it easier.
Awesome. Democracy in sport and art. Yeah, I'm all about that. I guess to go through, maybe to close, if we've talked a lot about bigger themes, whether it's joy, freedom, love, passing, teamwork. Maybe each of you could share something through the process of peh-LO-tah or through working in the community that you've experienced that maybe from a personal standpoint.
Oh, man.
Joy, I mean, it is a literal joy to be able to do this and to be able to do it with them and Amara. And I think just being able to interact with audience members afterwards, I mean, beyond the, you know, just saying hi, but even if it's just a hi, or, I mean, we often like to hug, you know, we're huggers. And when we did Black Joy in Central Park and had a component where we actually asked, what is your experience? People's answers made me think about valuing the day-to-day. Like one person said, my Black joy is when I come home and I get to have dinner with my family. Or, you know, and it's, at first I think we might have been looking for more grand, quote unquote, grand answers. And it really is the, you know, my Black joy is damn good meal, or, you know, like, or just, you know, something like that. And I don't think we often see and hear Black joy in particular expressed. It's not that it's different, it's just that it's not expressed. So I'm joyful for being able to express Black joy with these guys.
Word.
To talk a little bit about the hugging, or to push it just a little bit. I think what this production, this opportunity gives me is an ability to touch, you know, and you know, not only physically touch people who's after a performance. There is a desire for them to actually touch, to reach out and hug, but to use our various instruments and our gifts to be able to really shift something in the body, you know, in a body that doesn't exist on the stage, you know, that we have that power, all of us, we have the power to shift our communities and to shift the world. This production acts as a microcosm of our ability, you know, the ability for a game, the ability for our bodies, the ability for our minds. If we might all agree that that we can shift a thing, that we can actually move a mountain, you know what I mean? So this production, guys, it just reaffirms, you know, how we are really change makers if we really want to change.
Yeah, and I could say that and what Tracy said, coupled with just the metaphors in this piece, are starting to like really become clear. Like goals for me is basically a blueprint to legacy, is how I feel about it. Like once I started doing this and I was like, oh, goal number one, oh, this is what I'm gonna do to get the score. And I might have been subconsciously thinking that way, but I am like frontal lobe thinking that way now. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm just gonna reserve my answer for the stage. Can we just do one last section for y'all? Yeah. Is that cool?
Yes, please.
Sweet.
Yeah. Great. Cool. Let's do it.
In my first memory of the game, we're running uphill on limestone in bare feet. Baby Doc Duvalier is chilling somewhere in his mansion in the distance, but here, every boy on my grandpa's block is chasing a tennis ball that's bandaged in loose socks, and we're passing it with our feet. The only time I fit in with the rest is inside of the game. I learned by listening. We moved out of the studio apartment in Rego Park before I turned 3, which means that my memory of Dad listening to soccer on the radio is some relatively primordial epoch origin type shit. It's 1978. He's smoking a square on the fire escape. The New York Cosmos is beating somebody. A radio play without commercial breaks. Franz Beckenbauer, Carlos Alberto, Pele, all on the same squad. Some people remember lullaby music from their infancy. I remember the sound of AM hiss being broken by fan screams whenever Pele scored. At 5, I am a player. I got these brown sneakers, either because my parents couldn't afford cleats or because it seemed ridiculous to them for me to have special shoes to play a game you could just as well rock uphill on limestone in bare feet. My afro in 1981 is halo-rific. Like the Commodore's afros had a baby with all the ballers on the White Shadows afros, and they laid it in angelic askance on my crown. At 5, I'm the king of a rubble and dirt soccer field in Queens. I got this round number on my back. I've just struck this thing hard, focused, sweet. When I'm older, this is how I prefer to make love. This is how I learn about electricity in the body when Catholic Mass started to lose me. The only place I feel raceless is when the ball hits the back of the net. When the ball hits the back of the net, I'm prepared to be the Dalai Lama. I achieve gravitational singularity. When the ball hits the back of the net, I am one with everything. And then I see my mommy. Oh, shit, that got me really high. Busy with joy and barely conscious of the sensation of gravity, cowering in confusion around me. I write full speed toward my mom, oblivious of my teammates who try to join in the celebration. Man, I belt out the George Benson tune that's hot on the radio. I am not a child of immigrants. This is not hip-hop under the watch of Ed Koch. I am current. My blood is goal scorer code, like New York autumns used to be. The hum of my own breathing in the wind is Hendrix Ghost Ride Symphony. In my afro halo bliss, running full speed toward my mom, singing so damn loud like only a 5-year-old goal scorer can. Turn your blood around. Turn me down, yeah. I can show you how, yeah. Turn your love around. Ooh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Turn your love around, yeah. Don't you turn me down.
You've watched your 9-year-old press play and pause and play and pause and over on the same grainy YouTube video from 40 years ago. He studied it with intensity, his brow furrowed in concentration. You've seen him carry the small ball he uses to practice soccer moves outside, into the backyard, or downstairs in the basement. The ball is not regulation. It is the rubber Diego ball he's had since he was 5. If I can master moves on this, it'll be easier for me to do on a regular soccer ball, he tells you. You know nothing of these things, so he's so confident about it, you can only accept it as fact. You've watched him Outside, his tablet balanced on the deck steps. Play, pause, try, fail, play, pause. He's been doing this for weeks. When it was colder, he moved his portable goal downstairs into the basement. The ball hits the back of the net and bangs against your door over and over and over. You've given up telling him to move the goal to the other side of the house. He's given up telling you that he has to place the goal there because it is exactly half a pitch away on a real field. He's so confident about this that you can only accept it as fact. Play, pause, play, pause, play, pause. One day, he runs into your bedroom without knocking, and he is breathless. I did it. Did what? The Cruyff move. I've been practicing for weeks. I did it. It's slow, but I did it. Can I show you? You want to say no. Your body has been battling your brain for control for as long as he's been practicing this move, but you have to say yes. You have to gather what strength you've stored someplace underneath your chin or in your left elbow or your right kneecap. You have to find the energy to carry you up the stairs into the kitchen and outside in the backyard as he slowly but surely does the fake out move he asked you to Google weeks ago. The video he's watching is from 1974. The Dutchman he's obsessed with has to be like 1,000 years old by now. So, this evening, as you're reading about the judge who will sentence Akai Gurley's murderer to community service. After the first scrimmage of the spring season, when your son enters your bedroom again without knocking and breathless, you look up and find him standing there, and he is clutching his iPhone in his hands, ESPN, and shaking. He's dead. He says, and before you can ask who, you're holding each other and exchanging tears, and you notice two things. You no longer have to bend to place your cheek on top of his head. And neither of you know which he the other is crying for.